Okay, now that we have our glasses built and staged, we're going to take you in here to making some glass material for our objects. So right now I just have a gray shader on our objects, and I've already got the lighting set up, so I did that in a previous video with the sky dome, and then we have 3-point lighting, a light over the top, one on the left and one on the right in here. So the lighting's already set up. So what I'm going to do as we're starting to deal with these materials is I'm going to click this little box right here, and then I draw a box around it, and then it's only going to be rendering that area. So instead of having to render the whole thing, so we're going to use this as our kind of as we're doing our materials. All right. So I've already got a material, standard surface that's placed on everything. So now let's just go in here and make another material. So we can go down to Arnold section and go to shader, and there's all our shaders. Here's an AI standard shader, so you can click on that to bring one out. Okay, that's one way to do this. Select that one. Another way to do it is to actually you can come in here and type. So we could type in right here, AI standard. Okay, and it's right there is another way to do it. Okay, so there's lots of ways, and just like to show you different ways to do things. Another way to do things is you can click right inside of your area right here, and I can hit the tab key, and that's going to bring up a search, and I can type in AI stand here, and I can find it here too. So all of those are options on how to bring in a material. All right, so let's go ahead and name this one. This is going to be, I can name it over here. I can also click up here and name it, and this is going to be my psych wall. Now I put a space in it, but Maya doesn't allow you to put spaces in things, so it'll automatically put an underscore in it. And so this is what's on our psych wall. Okay, so now we'll just go out here, hit my tab, AI standard, and this is going to be my glass. Okay, I've made myself a glass tab here, and so this is, I'm going to name this is my glass material. And another thing that you can do in here, which kind of helps keep this organized, is you can hide some of these nodes. So I don't really need this. This is the actual shader node. This is the material that controls the shader node. This is the shader node. So if you pick the shader node, I can click this button right here, and it'll just hide that. So that way I'm not clogging up my workspace much. Kind of crowded, showing a lot of things in here. And so we're going to go in here and pick our glass, that one, and then I'm going to apply this to it. So I'm just going to right click, assign materials to selection. It's going to put it on there. And all right, so what we're going to do with this material is we're just going to load a preset in here. So we're going to go over here to presets, and I'm going to click on this preset. And I'm going to go to glass, replace it, and that's going to put a glass material on our object in here. And you'll see it rendering in there. Okay, then we're going to do some modifications to this. So what we're going to do is to color the glass. Now, when we're putting a color on the glass, people get really confused with this. So they think, oh, base color, we change the base color. No, that's how we change an opaque material, okay, but not a glass material. So for it, we go down here to where it says transmission, and the transmission is light penetrating through something. And so this is where we're going to add the color in, so you can add color in right here. So we'll just start off and do something like, I don't know, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do maybe this purple. And so now it's going to make my glass really purple, and it's screaming purple at me. because this being transmission, we don't need much color into this. So if I click in here, I need to really bring this down really far where it almost seems like it's white. I mean, it's very sensitive. So you can see this purple, even though this looks like it's white, it's still got a little bit of a purple tint to it. If I go all the way down, then it's like turning it off. So I'm just pulling it up a little bit so I have a little bit of a lavender into the glass, okay? I don't want it to be just screaming at me glass. This is, you know, a nice tinted glass, so something that's a little too much. I'm going to go for something about like that. Okay, so transmission is where you put the color to go onto your object. Okay, see that? Nice purple glass, kind of a lavender. But what I'm going to show you is some advanced things that we can do to this also. So another thing I want to do is I want to make it so that the color of the glass changes from top to bottom. So I'm going to add another node in here. I'm going to add a ramp node. So go ahead and hit your tab and then type in ramp. And then we want this ramp texture right here. Okay, so now it's putting this in here. I don't need to see this. This is a mapping node. I don't really need to see that right now, so I'm going to go ahead and just hide that. Now, the other thing is by default, this node is doing a gradient from left to right, and it's a V ramp, okay? And V means for vertical. So if I click this button right here, I can get it to come out, and then it'll come out in a horizontal like this. But if you pull it out, there's a little button right here. It says vertical, so you can switch it to vertical. And for this exercise, this kind of makes more sense. So what we're really learning here is on this gradient that's here, the black is at the bottom and the white is at the top. So on this horizontal graph, this is the bottom, this is the top. This can get confusing when we're doing multiple things. So that is kind of an advantage that you can pop this out, and now this kind of makes more sense. It's black to white. Now, we use black and white maps a lot in our materials, okay? And it kind of goes like this. White is on, black is off. White is opaque, black is transparent. If we're doing like a bump, a white is out and black is in. So you kind of have to remember that black is the negative, pushes things into the negative, or it's transparent, and white is pulling things into the positive. Now we can add extra points in here. Okay, so anywhere that I'm in here, I can click inside of here and it's going to add another point. This button right here deletes that. And there's a bug in Maya, I don't know why it does this, but it closes this window whenever I delete things. Okay. So if I put something in here, then this tag over here is the color and this is the delete. So you want to pull this out a little bit because your color will show up here. So when I click this and I go to here, I can load black in. And so now it's going to be black from black to there, which is kind of what I want. And then I want to click here and I want this one to be white. Make sure it's pure white. And really this one up here is not pure white. It's kind of a gray. So we will make sure that was pure white too. So now this allows me to drag these and I can create a nice gradient where this gray is, or I can make it fairly tight. Okay. So now what I can do here, and I'm going to go ahead and delete these two that I made in here just for right now. And let's go ahead and put a color in here. So we're going to go up here at the top. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to go back to our material here. And I've got this color in here. Okay, this color. And it's going to lay it right there at the beginning. So I'm going to go over to my ramp. And I'm going to lay that color in at the top. And then at the bottom, oops, I'll do that. Yeah, click the top node. And let's make like a really intense purple on this. So it's going from a really intense purple to just a barely of a purple. So now what we're going to do is this out color to the transmission color. So now it's going to overwrite the color that's in that's on this material here, and it's going to put this in there as your transmission color. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go back to here. So I'm going to put one here and put one here so I can control this. So I'm just going to use the same color here. Okay, same one that's here. And I'm going to put it here. Make sure it's the same one. And then the same up here. I'm going to go to that same kind of lavender color. Now you'll see that once I put this on here, it's going over the entire piece. And the reason is that a ramp needs a mapping coordinate. It's a linear two-dimensional map, and we don't have a mapping coordinate on our glass, and so we're going to have to do that. So I'm just going to move this out of our way. Easiest thing to do is just to pick your glass, and then what you can do is, let's pull this down a little bit. So what we're going to do is put us a nice mapping coordinate on. So we don't have to do an elaborate. We don't have to unwrap it because it's just a gradient. So let's see, I've got rendering tab over here. We want to go to our modeling tab here, and then you'll see a UV selection right here. And all we got to do is put a planar on it. So you just go right here, hit planar, and it put a planar mapping coordinate. And I don't really care which direction it's facing. It's facing sideways right now, but I don't really care. And you'll see immediately once we did this, we're starting to upgrade this. Now you can click on this button right here, and this will open up your UV editor, and you'll see that it's just floating it into this one-to-one space. So we're not having to do an elaborate mapping coordinate. And of course, I could rotate this towards, it doesn't matter because this glass, so it's just projecting all the way through this. So what I'm getting at here is that if I go to a perspective view, and you'll see the coordinate is projecting from the side. Later, you know, that might be a factor, but in what we're doing, since it's a gradient, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we'll just go back to our camera view. And so now we have a gradient on there. Go back to my object mode. So I really want, I want to limit this lavender I want around here. So I'm going to pull this down, and you'll see that's pulling this down. So I'm limiting how much this darker blue is coming up into here, bluish purple. So you're controlling this, and of course I can make, this is still got a nice gradient. I could pull this up where it would be tighter, you know, something like that. But I think for right now, I'm going to leave this down more like that. And so there's a nice colored glass. I think maybe this down here is a little too heavy. So I'm going to bring this down. Maybe a little bit more like this. And then I'll need to do the same here. And that's going to lighten this up down here. And that looks pretty good. I think I might even go a little lighter. I don't know. I think I'll leave it at that. I like that. That looks pretty good. All right. So, glass. When we want to color the glass, All right, we're going down to transmission, not base color, not specular color. With glass, it's transmission. This is where to put the color in. And now what we're doing is we're controlling that with a gradient ramp. This is the bottom, that's the top. Okay, let's explore further. Let's do a search, and let's do a search for stucco. And stucco is a procedural texture, so it's a mathematical formula. I don't need to see this node, so I'm just going to hide that. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to throw this into the transmission. We're going to overwrite that and put this in. So now it's going to put this color throughout our whole piece here. And I think I want to copy some of these colors that I'm using. So I'm going to go back into this, and like I think where the red is, I'm going to go back with this purple. And the blue, I think I want to go with maybe a turquoise in there. I kind of like that. So on this stucco, you have other options that we can play with, but the default option is fine. All I'm trying to do is add, it's like, okay, this is multiple colors of glass in here, which is kind of interesting. All right, that looks nice. So that in there to your transmission, or I could go here to my transmission, which would be this. Now I would like to maybe blend these two together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get, let's pull these over a little bit. I'm going to add another node in here. So tab, and I'm going to add a layer texture. Okay, so I'm going to add a layer texture. Now, this is like Photoshop. So this is like having layers inside of Photoshop. So it starts off with this base layer, and then I can add layers in here. So I can click right here, and now it's going to add a new layer on here. So let's go ahead and pull this into our color, and you'll see it's going to turn green. So now I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to get that purple, and then I go to this one, and oops, and let's load that turquoise in there. So what it's doing here by default is it's using an alpha as a blend. So at 1, it's showing us the color in the first slot. If I go to 0, it's showing us the color from the second slot. Now, one of the things that's confusing about this, and I'm not sure why they did this, that I think it's confusing to people, is when you go to your gradient, this is the bottom and this is the top on a y-axis, okay? When you go to here, this is the top and this is the bottom, so it flips. So I think that kind of throws people off. But what we can do is, and of course, if I go part of the way in here, you're blending these two colors together is what you're doing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in and I'm going to add a ramp to ramp between these. Okay, so instead of a number, it's going to give me another gradient. So we're going to come in here, click in the background, hit your tab, and we're going to go for another ramp. And of course, it's a ramp texture. Don't need to see this node. Now when I do that, it's not deleting the node, okay? It's just hiding that mapping node because we don't really need to see it. These are the parts that we're doing. All right, so what I'm going to do here is this is my layer node. And so what I want is this color, okay, my stucco, okay, and we can name this. We'll call this marbled glass, name it whatever we want to call it. Oops, how to spell. All right, and then what we're going to do is on our inputs right here, you'll see on our layered, there is a little plus here by your inputs, and then here's input 1 and input 2. So we're going to open up input 1. Let's get this gradient out of the way. And then we're going to plug this into the first color slot. And I'm going to pull this back to, actually to 1. And so now this is what's showing up. It's just passing right through this onto here. All right, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this gradient ramp, and where this says alpha right here, I'm going to plug this alpha node into that. And so now what's happening is this is controlling, and let's look at this. So what's happening is wherever this is black, it's going to show this color. And wherever it's white, it's going to show this one. So since I have the turquoise in the second slot, it's showing the turquoise here. Now what I want is I want the stem to be the turquoise and only the marbling to be up here. So I need to put another node in here. And then I'm going to make that node black. And then I'm going to make another node up here. And I'm going to make sure that one is white. And then I'm going to drag this one down. And it's controlling how far this goes down. And I'm going to drag this up. And this is controlling the transition between the layer 2 and the layer 1. And so I'm controlling where this gradient is coming into play here. I no longer need this ramp, so we can delete that. So color here, color there. This color is being driven by this stucco, which we're calling marbled glass. And then the second one is just a solid color that we're putting down here. And then this ramp is controlling where the transition is between them. So let's just call this color transition. And this is our color layer control. I'm just giving these names that mean some sense to me because you kind of want to start, getting a habit of naming things so that it makes sense. Okay, and so now this is called glass, but now we're going to call this. I'm just going to call it green glass because I don't want to have to spell out turquoise. Okay, so there you go. That's how you create a piece of colored glass. And now I've also taught you how to use your layer control. This is layers just like in Photoshop. I could add another layer if I wanted to. All right. Also, things you can also do is you can get rid of these by clicking this plus right here. So I could get rid of that. Also, you can turn these off. So if I wanted to, if I click on this, I can go right here, layer is visible, and turn this off. And so I can turn these on and off. I can also rearrange these by holding the center mouse down. Okay, so the center mouse button, you can rearrange these. So if sometime you accidentally get them in the wrong spot, then you can, instead of having to replug everything back in, you can pull them and change them into different spots. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do was to show you how you could just duplicate. Now that you've got this tree all made, we want to put another glass on each one of these other, another glass shader on each one of these, and we want it to be different colors. So all you have to do is to select your whole node tree here, and then you're going to go edit, duplicate, and then go shader network, and then it will duplicate your entire shader network. Go here, hide that node, hide this node. Okay, and this is going to be our second one, so we'll call this one, maybe I'm going to do, I don't know, red glass. And then I come in here and I can apply that. So let's go ahead and apply that to our, we'll do this cup here. So I'll pick that cup. And then we'll apply this to that. And of course, I've got to put a mapping coordinate on that object too. So we have to go here, pick it, UV, planar map on it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there, it's starting to put that shader on there. And so now I can come in here and start, playing with different colors. So I'm going to make this a red. Okay, so there's the red going on there, and then let's put, yellow in there. So we got yellow and red there. Then let's go here, and let's make this color here. I don't know, do we want yellow? The bottom to be yellow? Or do we want it red? I think I'm going to like the yellow. Yeah, I think I like that better. And then, of course, I can adjust the ramp to be where I want this to transition. So that's how you can once you take the time, let's hide that. Once you take the time to get your material set up, your shader network set up, you can just duplicate the whole thing and then just change the colors and stuff and apply it. But don't forget, you got to put your mapping coordinate on the object so that the ramp knows the correct way to go. Okay, hopefully that helped you guys. So you go ahead and make your glass, and I want 3 colors of glass, and we live happily ever after. All right, thank you.